I'm Mort Cooper, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. It's early in the morning right now in the studio, and I'm talking basically down here. It's the morning voice, and I have a cold. If you have a cold, or you have bronchitis, or you have the flu, or pneumonia, any of these things tends to bring the voice down in the lower throat because your energy level is sapped. And when your energy level is sapped, you have a tendency to talk in the lower throat. Who killed our voices? That's the subtitle. We do it without the vaguest awareness of what we've done to ourselves and our voices. When our voice begins to fail, if you've heard Michael Eisner or the Secretary of the Treasury, Paulson, they have a raspy voice. If you listen to Paul Newman, you hear a raspy voice. The rasp is a cultural attribute, and people like it. They don't realize they're doing damage to their throat, the lower throat, and they begin to squeeze. You can wind up with very serious problems if you do that too long. Hopefully, when you have a cold or bronchitis or pneumonia or whatever else you might encounter, it passes. It's transitory. If you change your voice because of that, and you're not aware of what has happened, you begin to talk down here, the way I'm talking, instead of up in the face. If you are losing your voice, and you don't know why, and you've gone to your doctors, GP, you've gone to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, or doctors, and you've made the rounds and you can't get out of the lower throat voice like this, and it's beginning to hurt because it's just not holding up. I've come up with a new book called Curing Hopeless Voices. People wind up with hopeless voices, told it's hopeless, and they start talking down here. And then they begin to squeeze from the lower throat rather than up in the face where their voice was originally, before the bronchitis, before the flu, before pneumonia, before the cold. And they don't know what has happened. They'll go to the medical doctor, and right they should, and the medical doctor will explain to the voice that's failing that you have acid reflux. Acid reflux is big time in our society. Merck did a study. It sponsored the study in 1992, I believe it was. It's in the book Curing Hopeless Voices. And the book is free. You'll see at the end of the show, the book is free on my website, no charge. It's a fascinating book. It took a little while to write with a co-author, Dr. John Curtis. John was supposed to be here. He didn't get up. I had trouble getting up too, but I'm going to take you through the rounds of how you get out of the lower throat voice, and that's in a sense where I'm talking down here. The voice is built on a megaphone basis, from the top of your eyebrows down to the bottom of the lower throat. This whole thing is the throat, and it extends 6 to 9 inches long, just like a megaphone. The megaphone is narrow at the bottom and extends outward. As I mentioned, it's 6 to 9 inches, and it's broken up into 1/3 down in the lower throat, 1/3 around the mouth, and 1/3 around the nose. All good and great voices are placed up in the blend of oral and nasal resonance. It's called the mask. It comes from ancient Greek times when actors on stage actually spoke through a mask to imitate women, because women weren't allowed on stage. Good singing and good speaking are always up in the face. What happens is that unknowingly, when we have some deterrent, like a cold, the flu, bronchitis, or pneumonia. About 6 years ago, I had viral pneumonia. I was talking like this. I could hardly move. I lost 27 pounds in 1 month. Pneumonia can kill you. I lucked out and beat it. But my voice was all the way down here. And some of the people I knew thought it was very entertaining because the voice doctor didn't have any voice. Try losing 27 pounds in 1 month, and your voice will go down here. If you have bronchitis, you start coughing. And if you cough excessively and violently, you can irritate the vocal cords if you keep doing it. And you can wind up with a hemorrhage of the vocal cord, or you can wind up with an impaired voice. You can get a lot of things out of misusing the voice. You can get the strangled voice. If you've ever heard Robert Kennedy Jr., the environmental lawyer, he has the strangled voice. And he talks like that. If you've heard this voice, the strangled voice is medically called spasmodic dysphonia. You won't forget it. If you are with the person and you're looking at them, not just listening to them on the phone, you wonder why they're making faces. They screw up the face, trying to get, it's like stuttering. They're trying to get the voice out. The stutterers are trying to get the words out, the speech out. They're both interrelated. They're both doing something wrong with the speech mechanism. The stutterers are placing their tongue behind the teeth, the upper teeth, and they're preforming. Preforming means that they're thinking ahead of the vowels, the consonants, the words, and so they preform the tongue before they say the sound of the word. That's impossible. That's like you're walking and thinking of each muscle in your leg as you walk, or additionally in your arm. It isn't going to turn out well for you. Stutterers simply misuse the mechanism and don't realize that's what they're doing. If you change the way they're using their speech pattern and help them with the breathing, wonders, you can cure the stuttering problem. Allergan, for a while, was of the view that you can really treat stuttering with Botox. They're well-intentioned, they're compassionate, but stuttering is not a neurological problem, although that's in dispute. I don't find it to be a dystonia, a neurological problem, a genetic problem, a disease, and so forth and so on. I find it to be simple misuse and wrong speech identity. They're thinking ahead of what they're going to say, and they're putting the tongue in place to say it. It's like you're walking down the street and you're thinking of each muscle in your leg and your arm, and as you walk, it is not going to work for you. Spasmodic dysphonia winds up with the same thing, the strangled voice. The eyes begin to spasm, the neck begins to spasm, back problems, back spasms. My medical colleagues and my colleagues in academia are of the view that the strangled voice spasmodic dysphonia is a neurological problem. It's based on rather thin evidence which doesn't turn out to really explain why you get the strangled voice. What is the strangled voice? Where does it come from? And why do you have a voice that doesn't speak for you? Join with me. Change your voice, change your life. Who killed our voices? We unknowingly do damage to our voices. After puberty, the voice changes markedly for the young girl to the woman, for the young boy to the man, from the child to the adult, from adolescence to the adult. A number of us don't know how to use what nature has given us, a new voice. So we may pick a voice off the wall that really doesn't speak well for us because we don't know which voice is our voice. I may talk up here, and we have a post-puberty voice problem. Or we talk all the way down here. Or we talk in the lower throat. It's a post-puberty voice problem. By that I mean after puberty, your voice goes haywire. Or you pick up the wrong voice from your family because they have no training and direction in voice, and neither do you. So by osmosis, you either sound like your father, who has no training. It's not a negative. He's just not into voice. Or your mother, and she's not into voice. If you luck out, you imitate somebody who has a good voice, and you're what is called a natural. You have a very, very melodic voice. But the chances of having a melodic voice are very minimum, because most of us have developed our voice the same way we have developed our voice. It's like throwing a dart at a wall with no target. We don't know where to place the dart or what the target is. The target is basically to talk up in the face. If you just hum the first bar of Happy Birthday, just hum it, you'll feel a buzz. Just hum naturally the first bar of Happy Birthday. And that buzz is where you should be talking on. Is a carryover. I developed these techniques, the technique, so you can carry over your voice, the right voice, when it isn't right, when you've had the flu, bronchitis, very serious cough, your voice is gone. If you go back to basics, and just say, naturally, spontaneously, and sincerely. Don't push it. You'll feel a buzz in your face. The saving grace of all good and great voices is talking and singing in the face. If you listen to people who have very enchanting voices, you will hear a buzz in their voice. It has a ring to it. And when you do what I'm suggesting, you will feel a tingle if you haven't been talking up in the face, if you've been talking all the way down here after you've had the cough, the flu, bronchitis, and any one of these very difficult problems, you begin to talk down here. And after the flu is gone, after the bronchitis is gone, after the pneumonia is gone, if you've survived it, you have a voice that is not the voice you once had. You begin to squeeze because you're talking down here in the lower throat. The lower throat has natural resonance. It's called laryngeal resonance down here. And laryngeal resonance is what everybody has. You can't avoid it. It's around the larynx, and it's a very natural sound. But if you use too much of the laryngeal resonance, you begin to squeeze. You want to go up to the face, or if you hum the first bar of Happy Birthday, you'll feel a buzz up in your face, a tingle in your mouth. You'll feel your teeth possibly showing an effect, a response. That's a good sign. After you use that voice up in the face for a while, it becomes very natural and normal. It's called adaptation. So you don't even realize the buzz is there and the tingle is there. It disappears. As I'm talking to you, it's a natural sound talking up at this point, in the face. But when I wake up in the morning now with a cold, because I'm very fatigued, I'm talking in the lower throat, but I'm not putting volume in. I'm not squeezing. And that's a saving grace. If you hear the change of my voice, putting it up in the face, away from the lower throat down here, this lower throat voice will not carry. If I talk to you like this, people can't understand what I'm saying. It doesn't have audibility, it doesn't have intelligibility, doesn't have carrying ability. If I talk up here, you can hear the difference in contrast to talking down here. This is the cough voice, the post-flu voice, the post-viral pneumonia voice down here. That's because your energy is sapped. And if you have the cold, or you have bronchitis, or any of the negatives that come along with being all that human, you know what I am referring to. Many of us, when we wake up in the morning, if we're well rested, have what is called the morning voice. We talk like this. If you continue to use that morning voice, you will find that you don't have intelligibility, carryability, and audibility. So you begin to squeeze from the lower throat, like that. And before you know it, your voice is failing, and you're going to wind up in some medical doctor's office. They're going to look down your throat. They're going to tell you have irritation of the vocal cords, if you're seeing any nose and throat doctor. And they're possibly going to tell you it's due to acid reflux. But you may tell your doctor you don't have acid reflux. They will tell you it's invisible and that you do have it. So what has happened is that the medical people have medicalized and made into your failing voice, your voice has become a disease. There's a young lady by the name of Lynn Payer who wrote a book, Disease Mongers. And it's a very telling book how what is not a medical problem with your voice has been medicalized and made into a medical problem. So they're probably going to put you on acid reflux drugs. There are all kinds of acid reflux drugs. Dr. Laura Schlesinger was a patient of mine. She gave me a very nice quote. She was on Maalox, and it made her ill. She went to UCLA Medical Center, and she couldn't get her voice back. It took just 3 meetings with her to get her voice back. The problem was not acid reflux, it's misuse of the voice. If you start talking in the lower throat over here, you're going to abuse your voice, and you're going to get negative symptoms. If Steve Krager, our director, could put the book Stop Committing Voice Suicide on the screen, you can see the negative symptoms that come from misuse, and they are a number of symptoms. Your voice gives out, it doesn't project, it's hard to hear, you're coughing, that's if you have the cold, or bronchitis, or the flu, or pneumonia. But you can drop down there because it's cultural. It feels better, it sounds better to you. But join me, watch out. The title of the program today, subtitle, is Who Killed Our Voices? If Steve could place the scream on the screen, it would really characterize what's going on. The scream really is depicting what happens to us. We understand when we wear a shoe that's the wrong size that we will have trouble walking. We understand that if we drive the car with the full brake on and don't put gas in the tank of a normal car, we're not going to go anywhere. We don't realize the voice is an instrument. It's like the car. It's a mechanical instrument. And if you begin to think about how you're breathing, if you place one hand on your midsection and count to 5 aloud, you may find that your midsection is reversed when you count aloud, or there's no air support and you don't have what is called diaphragmatic breathing. If that's what's happening, you're having the same problem as driving the car with the full brake on, or driving the car trying to, when there's no gas in the tank. So you have to have a little air underneath your vocal cords. Not much, but enough to give your vocal cords a relaxed use. And if you breathe from the upper chest, you're tensing the body. If you breathe from the midsection, it's called diaphragmatic breathing. You take the pressure off the chest and it relaxes the body, makes you feel more comfortable and at ease. And also it gives you a control of the air supply that's feeding your vocal cords, that is making the vocal cords work just like my lips, and the air is beneath and under, only you can't see it. It's down at the 4th and 5th cervical vertebrae. There are 7 cervical vertebrae in the neck. It's very interesting how simple the mechanism of voice is. There are 9 functions of the larynx, and the last function, the 9th function, is the voice. The voice is not basically essential, although we live in a sound society, believe it or not. The larynx was not intended to give us voice. But that's what our society is based on. And if we didn't have voice, we would have a very difficult time to communicate personally throughout the day, especially for those cell phoners who love to talk and be connected. We have other means of communication, of course. We have email, we have the computer, we have lots of other things. But the larynx was not built for voice. We have innovated the use of voice. Nobody knows why we began to use voice. Isn't that interesting? But we do use voice. There are many theories as to why we have a voice to talk with, but nobody really knows. When you wake up in the morning and you had a good night's sleep, your voice may be all the way down here. Wake up your voice. And you feel by doing that exercise, you have a voice in your face. And you want to feel that tingle in your face. Hum the first bar of Happy Birthday. Wake your voice up. Wake your morning voice up. But if you have the cold, it's very difficult to get out of here because you're exhausted. And I had a cup of coffee this morning. I'm still down here. But I will bring it up, as you can hear it, from where it was when I woke up. So if you have the morning voice and you're talking down here, and you like it because it's macho and sexy and all that stuff, get out of it. Because if you stay down in the lower throat, you get a hoarse voice, you get a fatigued voice, and you wind up with a problem. And the problem could be very serious. There's a new book out by my colleague Dr. John Curtis and myself titled Curing Hopeless Voices, Spasmodic Dysphonia and Other Voice Problems. We don't realize how serious a voice problem can be until we wind up with a voice that's strangled. We can't talk. Or when we're stuttering. Both of these problems are curable, but there's argument, a lot of argument, that stuttering and spasmodic dysphonia are neurological, genetic, and so forth. I don't find it so. And from my clinical experience, I've proven that it's functional, that it's mechanical. We're doing something wrong to our voice without the vaguest awareness of what we're doing. And if we have a voice that's fatigued, it's not being heard, people can't understand what we're saying, they ask us to repeat ourselves. If you have any of those symptoms, be aware that you may be talking in the lower throat, and the lower throat does not carry. I'm talking up in the face now, and I can be talking down in the lower throat. When I talk down here, it's hard for you to hear me. When I talk up here, you can hear the difference, and it's up in the face, down here is in the lower throat. The whole throat, it's called the pharynx medically, and it extends from the eyebrows down like a megaphone, 6 to 9 inches in length, broken up into the lower throat, laryngeal resonance, oral resonance, and nasal resonance. And all good and great voices, I repeat, are up in the face, called the mask area. If you talk up in the face, even when you have a bad cough, even when you have had pneumonia, even when you have bronchitis and the flu, the cold, you don't have to use much strength, but stay up in the face, and you can talk gently up there, and you can still have a normal voice. But after you lose 27 pounds in 1 month, you're going to be whispering like this, and you're going to forget where your real voice was. But as a voice doctor, I remember where my voice is, and I know where my voice is, and I know the effects of pneumonia. I had pneumonia when I was in the service, when I was 21, and that almost killed me. And then I had viral pneumonia about 5 or 6 years ago, and that was another number. It's not fun to have pneumonia. It can kill you. But it can also wipe out your voice, and then you start making the rounds because you don't have a voice. And they're going to tell you in the medical world that it's acid reflux. If you get the strangled voice, spasmodic dysphonia, they're going to tell you it's a disease. They're going to tell you it's neurological, it's genetic. They're going to tell you all kinds of things. And they're going to tell you also it's hopeless. It's not. The new book, Curing Hopeless Voices, is going to tell you that the strangled voice and other so-called hopeless voice problems are curable. They're curable by direct voice therapy, what I do. You just isolate the variables and put your voice up in your face again. You've lost the sense of identity of your voice, and you're talking down here. Use a very simple technique. Like you sincerely and spontaneously agree with what I'm saying. And you'll feel the buzz go right up into your face. It's very simple. It's natural. And it does wonders for you. I'm Mort Cooper. Who killed our voices? Think about yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.